I feel like I'm losing my mind over what happened last night, and I honestly don't know if I'm being paranoid or if something's actually wrong. My wife completely lost it on me for showing up at her work with dinner, but she wasn't even there when she said she would be. Am I the idiot for wanting to know where my wife actually is when she's not answering her phone? I'm typing this out on my phone, so formatting might be a bit messy. So I, male, 34, have been married to my wife Sarah, female 31, for 4 years, and we've always had this thing where we check in with each other during the day. Nothing crazy, just like, how's work going, or need me to grab anything texts. It's been our normal routine since we got together. About 3 weeks ago, Sarah got promoted to senior marketing coordinator at her company. She was really excited about it, and she deserved it. She's been working her ass off, but she mentioned her new boss is super demanding and keeps the whole team late working on these urgent projects. I mean, whatever. Promotions come with more responsibility, right? But here's where things started getting weird. Sarah used to get home around 6:30, maybe 7 on busy days. Now she's rolling in at 9 p.m. every single night, saying they're working late and ordering dinner from Romano's down the street from her office. She mentioned that place specifically multiple times because apparently it's where her team always orders from when they're stuck late. I tried to be supportive and even offered to meal prep for her so she wouldn't have to worry about dinner. But she got all snappy and defensive about it, saying she can handle her own schedule and doesn't need me managing her time. Which, okay, fair enough, I guess, but it felt like such a weird reaction to me trying to help. The thing that really started bugging me, though, was how her texting changed. Like I said, we usually text throughout the day, and she'd respond within an hour or two max. But suddenly, my texts were sitting unread for 6 to 8 hours. I'm talking about normal stuff too. How's your day? Or should I start dinner? Not anything demanding or clingy. I know this sounds pathetic, but I actually started paying attention to the response times on my phone. My dad walked out when I was 12, and I guess I get weird when people start acting distant, but that's probably my own issue. After tracking it for like 4 days, I realized this was completely different from how she normally acts. Before the promotion, she'd text back pretty consistently. Now I was lucky to get a response at all. Yesterday was the breaking point. I sent her a text around 2 p.m. asking how her day was going. Totally normal stuff. By 6 p.m. it was still unread. I sent another one about dinner plans. Nothing. I tried calling twice, and both times it went straight to voicemail. At this point, I'm honestly starting to panic. So I decided to do something nice and surprise her with dinner at Romano's. She loves their chicken parmigiana, and I thought it would be sweet to bring it to her while she's working late with her team. I called ahead and ordered her favorite chicken parmigiana, then got to Romano's around 7 p.m. to pick it up, ready to surprise my wife and maybe meet some of her coworkers. But when I asked the hostess if there's a corporate group from Sarah's company there, she looks at me like I'm crazy and says no groups from that company have been in all evening. I'm standing there confused as hell, so I walk through the parking lot looking for Sarah's blue Honda. Nothing. Her car is nowhere to be found. So I call her again, and this time she actually picks up. But instead of sounding like someone who's been in meetings all day, she sounds flustered and annoyed. When I ask where she is, she says she's running errands and will be home late. Running errands. I thought she was working late with her team. I didn't even tell her I was at Romano's at that point because she sounded so off. I just said okay and went home. She got home around 10 p.m. and I mentioned that I'd tried to surprise her with dinner at Romano's. That's when she absolutely lost her shit. She started yelling about how I was checking up on her like some paranoid husband and how she doesn't need to be tracked down when she's trying to handle work stuff. I tried to explain that I wasn't tracking her, I was trying to do something nice because she's been so stressed. But she kept going off about how I don't trust her and how embarrassing it would be if her coworkers knew her husband was showing up to check on her. The whole thing was just nuts. I mean, I get that maybe showing up unannounced isn't ideal, but why lie about where she was? And why get so defensive about it? If she was running errands, why not just say that from the beginning? She's been giving me the silent treatment since last night, and I honestly don't know what to think. Part of me wonders if I really am being paranoid, but another part of me thinks her reaction was way over the top for someone who has nothing to hide. I've never been the jealous type, but something about this whole situation feels off. The changed communication, the defensive attitude, the lying about where she was, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Am I the idiot for showing up at the restaurant? Should I just let this go and trust that she's handling work stuff? Or is this as weird as it feels to me? To everyone asking if we've had problems before, no, this is completely out of nowhere. We've always been really good about communication, and neither of us has ever been secretive about anything. That's partly why this feels so strange to me. For those wondering why I didn't just ask her directly about the restaurant thing, I tried bringing it up this morning when I was making coffee, but she immediately got defensive again and said I was interrogating her. She grabbed her stuff and left for work without really talking to me. Since people are asking about the running errands thing, that's what's really bothering me. Like, if you're working late, you're working late. But if you're running errands, that's totally different. And why would she need to run errands at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday? The whole thing just doesn't add up to me, but maybe I'm overthinking it. Now for the first update. I woke up to hundreds of messages and honestly wasn't sure if I should even post this update. So, you guys were right about something being seriously wrong, but it's way worse than I thought, and I still don't know what the hell to believe. This morning I tried to make things right. I brought my wife coffee in bed and basically apologized for being paranoid about the restaurant thing. I told her maybe I was just stressed because work's been crazy and I shouldn't have assumed anything weird was going on, but she still wouldn't really look at me, like she was staring at her phone the whole time I was talking. So I figured maybe the stress was actually about money stuff, you know. New promotion might mean the pay bump hasn't kicked in yet or whatever. I mentioned that maybe we should talk about finances if that's what's bothering her. She immediately got all weird and was like, money's fine, everything's fine financially, which, okay, but that seemed like a weird reaction to me just asking. While she was in the shower, I was putting away the dishes and I saw this credit card statement on the counter. I wasn't snooping or anything, it was just sitting there next to the coffee maker. But I glanced at it and saw these multiple cash advances for like $1,500 each. Before I could really process what I was looking at, she came out of the bathroom and practically dove across the kitchen to grab it away from me. When I asked about it, she said it was old mail and got all defensive again. Started saying I was going through her stuff and how she can't even leave papers on her own counter without me interrogating her about them. The whole thing was weird. I mean, we've been married 4 years and we've never been secretive about money stuff. We have joint accounts for a reason. I couldn't stop thinking about those cash advances during work. Like, what the hell does someone need $1,500 in cash for? Multiple times. So during my lunch break, I logged into our online banking to check our joint savings. Guys, $8,000 is missing. $8,000. Gone over the past 3 weeks in different withdrawals. Some were online transfers, some were ATM withdrawals, some were those cash advances I saw on the statement. I printed everything out, every single transaction with the dates highlighted. When I got home, I spread all the papers on the kitchen table and just waited. She walked in and immediately started making excuses about car repairs. Said she borrowed $2,000 for some transmission work and forgot to mention it. But when I showed her the printouts with all the dates and amounts, she realized I had all the proof. That's when she completely broke down. She admitted to the cash advances and emptying our savings. But then she told me this story that I honestly don't know what to think about. She says her brother has gambling debts, serious ones, to dangerous people. And these people have been calling his phone, threatening him and saying they'll go after family members if he doesn't pay up. Her brother apparently begged her to help him quietly because he's terrified that if these people know he's talking to anyone else about it, they'll make everything worse. She showed me text messages on her phone from him asking for help with those people and saying stuff like, "Please don't tell anyone, it'll just make them more angry. And I'm so sorry for dragging you into this." The worst part is, she's been meeting these people in parking lots every week to give them cash, like actually meeting loan sharks or whatever in person to make payments. She said her brother told her exactly where to go and what to say. I asked why she didn't just tell me about this from the beginning. We're married. This affects both of us. But she said her brother made her promise not to get anyone else involved because these aren't the kind of people you mess around with. The thing is, this actually explains the weird stuff she's been doing. The not answering texts because she was stressed about family stuff, the lying about working late because she was meeting these people, the defensive attitude because she was trying to protect me from dangerous shit. But I'm still so confused and hurt that she hid this from us. 3 years ago, when my mom died and left us some inheritance money, We both promised to never make big financial decisions without talking to each other first. We literally had this exact conversation about being partners in everything. And now she's emptied our savings and taken out cash advances to pay off her brother's gambling debts to criminals without saying a word to me. I don't even know where to start with this. Part of me wants to be supportive because obviously she was trying to protect her family and she was scared. But another part of me is really angry that she lied to me for weeks and put us in financial danger without even giving me a choice. She says there's still about $3,000 left to pay, and then her brother will be clear. But how do I know that's actually true? How do I know these people won't just keep demanding more money? I asked if I could talk to her brother directly about setting up some kind of payment plan or figuring out how to handle this properly, but she freaked out and said absolutely not. She said her brother specifically told her that getting more people involved would put everyone in danger. I guess I understand that, but this is my family too now. This is our money, our financial security. I honestly don't know what to do here. Do I just trust her to handle this and hope it goes away? Do I insist on being involved even though she says it's dangerous? This is so far from anything I've ever dealt with before. Like loan sharks and threats and meeting people in parking lots. That's not my world at all. But $8,000 is a lot of money for us. That was our emergency fund and the down payment we were saving for a bigger place. I love my wife and I want to support her family, but I feel like she's put us both in an impossible situation by handling this alone. What would you guys do? Information to add. Since so many people are asking about the timeline, the withdrawal started about 3 weeks ago, which is right around when her promotion happened and when her texting patterns changed. So this whole working late thing was probably her cover story for dealing with these payments and meetings. For those wondering about her brother, he lives about 3 hours away and has always been pretty distant from family stuff. I've only met him a few times and we're not close, but he seemed like a decent guy. To answer the people asking if I think she's lying about the gambling debt story, honestly, I don't know what to think anymore. The text messages she showed me looked real, and she seemed genuinely scared when she was talking about these people. But the fact that she hid this for so long and lied about so many other things makes it hard for me to trust anything right now. I want to believe her because the alternative is that she's been stealing our money for something even worse. But I'm just so confused about everything. Now for the second update. Well, it happened. I called her brother, and the gambling debt thing is complete bullshit. I'm honestly still trying to process what the hell just went down in my kitchen an hour ago. I don't even know where to start with this, but you guys were right that something was seriously wrong. Just not what any of us thought. So after reading all your comments yesterday about how sketchy the gambling story sounded, I decided I needed to talk to her brother directly. I mean, this is supposed to be my family too, right? And $8,000 is way too much money for me to just blindly trust that everything's being handled properly. My wife left for work this morning, and I spent like an hour going back and forth about whether to actually make the call. But then I remembered we still have her brother's number in my contacts from when we all went to that wedding like 2 years ago. I figured if these loan shark people are as dangerous as she says, then maybe I could help figure out a better way to handle this. Like maybe we could set up some kind of payment plan that doesn't involve my wife meeting random criminals in parking lots every week. When she got home for lunch, I told her I wanted to call her brother to discuss how we could help with the debt situation. She immediately freaked out, like immediately. Started saying how her brother specifically asked her not to get anyone else involved, and how these people would make everything worse if they knew other family members were getting dragged into it. I tried to explain that this is affecting our marriage and our finances, so I have a right to understand what's happening. But she kept insisting that her brother made her promise to handle this alone, and that calling him would put everyone in danger. At that point, I was like, fuck it. This is my family too, and I'm calling. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through my contacts while she's standing there watching me. Found Derek and hit call before she could stop me. She looked like she was about to have a panic attack, but I was already committed. Derek answers all cheerful, and I told him I needed to talk about the gambling debt situation. Complete silence, like dead silence for like 10 seconds. Then he asked what gambling debt situation I was talking about. I'm thinking maybe he's being careful because he doesn't know if it's safe to talk. So I explained that Sarah told me about the people he owes money to and how we've been making payments to help him out. I mentioned the parking lot meetings and the cash advances and everything. More silence. Then Derek told me he had no idea what I was talking about. He doesn't owe anybody money and hasn't even talked to Sarah in like 3 months. The way he said it, he sounded genuinely confused, not scared or evasive, just completely baffled about why I was asking about gambling debts. I'm standing there looking at my wife and she's got this look on her face like, I don't even know how to describe it. Panic mixed with something else. Derek keeps talking and says he's been meaning to call Sarah because their mom's assisted living place keeps calling him about overdue payments, but he figured she was handling all that since she lives closer to mom. He's still listed as an emergency contact from when they first moved mom into care last year, but he told them Sarah was handling everything since he moved away. Mom's assisted living place, overdue payments. I'm starting to put pieces together, but then something else hits me. I asked my wife about the text messages she showed me from Derek last night. How could he have sent those if they haven't talked in months? My wife is frantically shaking her head at me and mouthing, hang up over and over. I tell Derek I'll call him back and hang up. The second I put the phone down, my wife starts going off about how Derek is obviously lying to protect himself from these dangerous people. She says they probably threatened him into denying everything, and that's why he sounded confused. She insists that of course he's going to claim he doesn't owe money, because that's what anyone would do if loan sharks told them to keep their mouth shut. But here's the thing. Derek didn't sound threatened or scared. He sounded genuinely worried about what I was telling him, like he was concerned that something was wrong with his sister. I told my wife I was calling him back and putting him on speakerphone so she could hear how concerned he sounded. She tried to grab my phone, but I was already dialing. Derek picks up immediately this time and says he's really worried about what I just told him. He asks if Sarah is okay and whether this has something to do with their mom's care situation. He mentions getting calls about payments being behind and feeling terrible that he hasn't been more involved. And that's when my wife just completely broke down, like full-on sobbing, couldn't breathe, collapsing into a chair breakdown. Through tears, she finally admits that there's no gambling debt, no loan sharks, no dangerous people making threats. She's been using our savings to pay for upgraded care for her mother who has dementia. Her mother is in this expensive private facility, and my wife has been paying for additional private aids and specialized programs and all this stuff that insurance doesn't cover. She upgraded her mom to a private room, hired round-the-clock care assistants, moved her to a more expensive facility across town that specializes in dementia patients. Her mom's condition got so much worse about a month ago. The basic facility couldn't handle her anymore, and she had this really bad episode where she got lost for hours. That's when my wife moved her to the specialized place with round-the-clock care. The promotion was supposed to help her afford it, but even with the raise it wasn't enough. The meetings in parking lots were her meeting with the facility's financial coordinator to make cash payments because she was behind on the monthly fees. The working late was her visiting her mother every day after work and dealing with care decisions and medical appointments. The defensive stuff about money was because she knew she was spending way more than we could afford, but she couldn't bring herself to tell me because she was terrified I'd make her move her mother to a cheaper place. And the text messages, she admits through sobs that she made those up. She used some app to create fake conversations and screenshots to make it look like Derek was asking for help. She needed me to believe the gambling story was real. Here's the part that really got to me. She said that 10 years ago when her grandmother was dying, her mother absolutely ripped into her for choosing a basic facility where the grandmother wasn't taken care of properly. Her mother told her she was heartless and selfish for not doing everything possible to give her grandmother the best care available. So when her mother started showing signs of dementia last year, my wife became obsessed with proving she wasn't the heartless person her mother said she was. She researched the most expensive facilities, the best care options, everything. But instead of talking to me about it, she just started secretly funneling money into her mother's care. The promotion at work was supposed to help cover the extra costs, but even with the raise, it wasn't enough. Derek confirmed on the phone that he's been getting calls from the facility about payment issues, but he moved 3 hours away specifically to avoid family stuff and felt too guilty to get involved when their mother's condition got worse. When I hung up with Derek, I just sat there staring at my wife. She violated the promise we made after my mother died. We literally agreed never to make big financial decisions without talking to each other first. We had this exact conversation about being partners in everything, especially when it comes to family emergencies. And she spent $8,000 of our money, our emergency fund, our house down payment savings, without saying a word to me. I understand wanting to take care of her mother. I really do. But the lying for weeks, the elaborate cover story, the complete betrayal of our financial agreement, I don't know how to process this. She keeps saying she was going to tell me eventually, but she needed to figure out a way to make it work without asking me to sacrifice our future plans. She said she was terrified I'd insist on moving her mother to a cheaper facility, and she couldn't live with herself if her mother didn't get the best possible care. But that wasn't her decision to make alone. We're married. This affects both of us. I don't even know what to say to her right now. Part of me understands why she was scared to tell me. Her mother's care is obviously important, and the guilt she's carrying about her grandmother sounds really painful. But she lied to me for weeks, created this whole elaborate story about gambling debts and dangerous people. Let me think she was in actual danger. Made me feel like I was being paranoid for asking basic questions about our finances. The trust is just gone right now. I don't know how to get past this. And we still have the practical problem of how to pay for her mother's care going forward. The expensive facility costs are ongoing. We're already $8,000 in the hole. I don't know how we're supposed to afford this long term without destroying our own financial future. I love my wife, but I feel like I don't even know who she is anymore. The person I married wouldn't have lied to me like this. The person I married would have come to me when her family needed help, and we would have figured out a solution together. I'm just lost right now. I don't know what to do with any of this. To everyone asking why I didn't see the signs about her mother, honestly, her mother lives about an hour away and my wife has always handled most of the family stuff. I knew her mother had been having some memory issues, but I didn't realize how serious it had gotten or that she needed this level of care. Since people are asking about the financial promises we made, when my mother died 3 years ago and left us some inheritance money, we both agreed that we'd never make major financial decisions, anything over $500, without discussing it first. We literally had multiple conversations about this because we'd both seen marriages fall apart over money secrets. That's what makes this betrayal feel so much worse.